Hopefully you are winning your fantasy football matchups. Monday Night Football starts in a little bit. We are here from FlurrySports to talk about what has happened in fantasy football week 1 up to this point. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of injuries, a lot of injury updates. We are here to break it down. Jake Senholz, Trevor Land are here. I'm Zach Bruner. How are you guys feeling heading into Monday night? We were talking a little bit ahead of time. Obviously, mixed reviews from your fantasy team so far. But overall, how are you guys feeling so far?
The leagues I care the most about, I did okay in. I believe I won in 2 out of the 3 of them, and I had a really good betting weekend. I don't have any action going tonight. I had the Ravens in 1 teaser, and the Packers blew that teaser. It was a 7-teamer, and 5 out of the 6 who have already played hit. Packers completely blew it. So I got no action tonight. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the first Monday Night Football game of the year.
Yeah, the only league I won in was a free league, so that really doesn't mean much. All my bets dropped thanks to the Packers not scoring a touchdown. That over bet hurt just a little bit. But other than that...
Especially since there's 2 opportunities and both quarterbacks gave the ball away within, the 10 or 15? So
the Saints did all the heavy pushing, and they still almost went over. So, yeah. I started Russell Gage at my flex in 3 leagues, so...
what are the Falcons doing? That's unexcusable.
Although, you know what? I will also say I was really, really stupid. I was too high on him because I started him over Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris, and Myles Gaskin. And Allen Robinson. And Devontae Parker. So that's really just a me problem.
Yeah, that's your fault. But also the Falcons are stupid.
And you loved him so much you gave him to me. So
yes, I did. I said, I've seen enough. I waved the white flag, and I said goodbye.
You said, I guess Jonathan Taylor is a fine replacement. He'll do for a couple weeks, but
I was actually going to give you the Broncos defense, but then I realized they actually have a good matchup next week, so I decided Russell Gage would be the least worthy player.
Well, isn't it? And I know if you want more fantasy Pirate League stuff, go follow FF. It's FF Pirate League, right? Yeah, I believe. We'll keep it short here, but Zach, isn't the rule, because I talked about this with my brother, don't you have to trade same position? Isn't that a rule?
I have no clue. That's what I asked Zach, because that's what I was wondering.
That's what I was initially intending. I guess you guys can decide. I don't personally care.
I like that rule because that strategy plays more rather than just dumping some crappy player from your bench onto I like the rule because then you got to make a choice. It's if you build up a decent team, it's I like all my wide receivers, but there's an even better one. Who am I going to get rid of? Mm-hmm. I think that makes it better. So I do like that rule. But my brother was trying to give you Hunter Henry, and I was like, no, you got to give him Will Fuller. First of all, I'd rather have Hunter Henry than Will Fuller. So, but I'll
take whoever. Give me his kicker. I don't give a fuck. We're fine.
Hey.
We'll keep it going. We're good over here. And by the way, it's not over yet. It's not over. Marcus Peters isn't.
It's week 1, baby.
Well, I'm saying this week's not even over.
Oh, your week's not over. That's right. Don't you need 50 points though?
I think you need
15. You need 23 from Daniel Carlson and the Ravens defense. So they're going up against each other.
And here we go. Josh Jacobs, little stomach bug. Something's going on. So their goal line back, who had the most red zone looks in the entire league last year, maybe he's not 100%. So the Raiders get down the field. All of a sudden, they can't punch it in. They have to settle for field goals. Daniel Carlson runs it in. Who the hell knows? Who cares? We're still good to go here. And the Ravens are going to get at least 1 pick six.
Field goals and interceptions, and you got the victory.
It's a bad week when Daniel Jones outscores Josh Allen in your Superflex. But also make sure to veto the trade then, so I can give him A.J. Dillon for Jonathan Taylor.
Will do. Let's talk about Monday Night Football really quick, and then we can get into some of the other things. Just because if there's people playing DFS, I have a bunch of DFS lineups going. I think it's important to note that Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman are both still on the practice squad. They are not activated. They will not play tonight. And it's a scummy reason for it, but I'm only assuming it's because if you're on an active week 1 roster, your salary is essentially guaranteed because you could sue the team and then get your contract fully guaranteed. So if they're on the practice squad, then they can activate them next week and cut them with no loss. It's totally cool. So it's a little scummy, but Le'Veon Bell had a chance for money, so fuck him at this point. But now,
you think they're getting cut?
Eventually, yeah.
You don't think either one of them has a chance to stick it out, make an impact, stick it out?
If J.K. Dobbins is going to tear his ACL, if Gus Edwards is going to tear his ACL, these are two injury-prone running backs already. They may die. We don't know, but it doesn't matter. They'll get cut. Yeah, that's why Todd Gurley probably turned down the shot to go, because he gets it. His agent's telling him, "Do not go."
He turned it down because they weren't going to make him the man, the myth, and the legend that he should be appreciated as. A guy who doesn't even try to score touchdowns, that kind of guy. Lamar Jackson has to take bathroom breaks. Todd Gurley just, shits on defenses on the field. Two different people.
Two different people for sure. I agree with the last point. So if you're doing DFS, by the way, the only two running backs the Ravens even have really are obviously Tyson Williams, who's a starter. He's going to be good. And then they have Trenton Cannon. I believe it's Trenton. That's an interesting pivot off of Williams, who's going to be extremely heavily owned. Maybe he pulls a hammy or something, drive one, and they have to lean on Cannon. And he's super cheap. That's a good play. If you're on DraftKings, Josh Jacobs obviously suffering from whatever illness, if that activates at all during the game and he has to step back a little bit. I really like Alec Ingold for the Raiders. He obviously Wisconsin fullback. He's used in the passing game quite a bit. And they're not going to give Kenyon Drake goal line touches, I can only assume. If they need to use Alec Ingold, he's minimum priced. He's $200. And just for comparison's sake, I think Daniel Carlson's $3,600, Justin Tucker's $4,000. So this is just a throwaway free spot, essentially. And he could end up with a touchdown. He has just as good of a shot as Josh Jacobs, I think. So that's a super, super good spot there. Obviously, for your captain, you're going with Lamar Jackson. Let's not get crazy there. He can have a bad game and be the top overall scorer. Is there any play you guys like from this game? I know, Trevor, on Wednesday, I think Luke and us were talking about how Sammy Watkins has one good game per year, usually really early, and then he disappears. Do either of you think that this could be that game?
I have to admit that I learned that Sammy Watkins was no longer on the Chiefs last night on the broadcast, or yesterday on the broadcast. So I don't have too much of an opinion, but Sammy Watkins usually it's before it's when his ankles are the most healthy. It's when, he's in the best shape, first weeks of the season. That's when he makes his impact. So I'm with you there. I do want to throw a disclaimer out there. I figured people deserve to know this. Come to me for my opinions, my gambling stuff. It's very solid. You read my articles, follow my picks. 4-1 or 5-1 rather against the spread yesterday. I am the world's worst DFS player. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw I think this weekend I was in $48 worth of contest or something. I'm in the money for one, and it's a double up. It's a measly double up with 900 people. So it's just I'm just the worst, and it was bad too. I wasn't even close on any of them. So I'm here to learn from Zach and build my own DFS lineups just as much as anybody else. So just putting that disclaimer out there, but I'm going to play something tonight, probably $5 or less. And I don't know, we'll see what happens, but DFS is just not I know hockey is a little different. I know I'm going to be diving deeper into hockey, but football DFS, people are just so good at it now, man. And I just don't have a knack for it. It's tough to cash. It's tough to cash. And especially when I look at my bets, 5-1-1 against the spread yesterday. I think I might stick to what I know a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've learned is Zach is good. Jake is he's getting there, and I'm basically just here for comedic relief. I've never won a dime. Don't
never
listen
even
to me
in a small little tournament.
No, I went into 5, lost them all horribly. I'm talking way at the bottom.
It is so demoralizing, man, when it's you're in the second corner, you've been watching Red Zone. It's the early slates, and you're let's just check it. Let's just see where I am. And you're 80% of the way back. And you're well, that's all right. We got the afternoon to go yet. And you just never even approach the halfway mark. You're just dead last the entire
I've
day.
done 5, and 2 of the guys I've picked have been hurt in the first drive. So that's how it's kind of gone for me. So I've learned, but I do still dabble in looking at the numbers and stuff. As to like Sammy Watkins, I don't know if I really buy this as a game for him. I'm kind of looking at, I don't know how much he's going for. I haven't looked recently, but I feel like this is one of those dumb games for Brian Edwards. I believe Edwards, right? For the Raiders. Yep. If I'm not mistaken, he missed a lot of games and or was very underwhelming last year. He kind of reminds me of like a Sammy Watkins type guy that will go off, once, twice, but be kind of subpar the rest of the season. It just seems like a good matchup for him. And it just seems like script-wise with all the injuries that the Ravens have that he might be able to find something in that secondary.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, I think it was on the Wednesday show. I'm a bigger Raiders lover, I guess, than other people. Like, I think the Raiders are a good team. Their offense has been one of the better units in the NFL since John Gruden's been there. Their defense has just been embarrassingly bad. So I think this offense is going to put up some fantasy points tonight going forward. Brian Edwards, to your point, he was a rookie last year, super hyped up, was like the better rookie in camp over Henry Ruggs. Obviously, Ruggs was drafted earlier. Was injury prone, never really got healthy. Now this year, I mean, it's the same type of thing, less hype on him, but still quite a bit of hype. I am of the opinion that Henry Ruggs isn't that great of a football player. I think he's just like a decent athlete, and that's about it. He's kind of like Marquise Brown, except for I think Marquise Brown's a better football player. So I think if Edwards is healthy, he could be the guy that they move around the lineup, can do a bunch of stuff. I'm worried the Ravens look to shut him down. That's what I would do. I don't think they're capable of shutting down Darren Waller, to be completely honest. But I do like Edwards a lot tonight. A lot of people like him. I will throw out one of my lineups just because this is just like my wild lineup. If it hits, it's going to hit super huge. And if it crashes, it's going to crash and burn for sure. But this is the one that I have Watkins in, and I have Cannon in the same exact lineup. So I have Jackson at the captain spot, so he gets 1.5 times his points. I went Derek Carr and Darren Waller, so we can get those double points there. And then I go Sammy Watkins, Justin Tucker, Trenton Cannon. Tucker's going to be pretty popular.
Those are some good names for like to have all of that on your roster.
Right.
Like you would think you'd have to go a little bit further down the board, but I like all that. I think the kickers are going to have a bit of a field day tonight. Like, I think there's going to be just some drives that stall past like inside the 25, maybe some longer kicks. So I like both kickers tonight, but would you ever consider like, yes, it wouldn't make much sense, but is there a strategy at all to making like Justin Tucker your captain? Like, say he hits like 4 tonight. Is that worth it?
100%. And like last night for the showdown slate, it's not a kicker, but I put Van Jefferson in my top spot. He was cheaper than all the kickers. He was one who had that really big touchdown right away.
64-yard bomb to open the game.
Yeah, and at that point, you're fine. Like, nothing else matters. You're going to cash at that point. Like, once they're that low, it's like with Alec Ingold. He's too low to put at the captain spot, but Alec Ingold at 200, if he catches one pass for 10 yards, then he already has 2 points, which is 10 times his value, essentially. Like, you're looking to get 5 times the value for a good play. And, for him to hit value is a lot lower than for Darren Waller to hit value. Because if Darren Waller hits value, he needs, 55 points? And that's not going to happen. So there's reasons to put a captain there if you can pack your spots. What was my lineup last night? Let me bring it up just because it's worth sharing. And it was an okay lineup. It wasn't amazing, but
Trace McSorley is more expensive than Sammy Watkins and Edwards and Ruggs.
Right. Yeah, they hedge a little bit, especially week 1 with those backup quarterbacks. But so like last night I went Van Jefferson in the captain spot. And then I went Matthew Stafford, Allen Robinson, Andy Dalton, Cooper Kupp, David Montgomery. And I cashed easily, even though Andy Dalton and Allen Robinson both sucked. But like if they had 1 touchdown, Like if Dalton threw one touchdown to Allen Robinson, that would have been a very, very, very high ranking lineup. But alas, so like 1% of the entire field had Van Jefferson in their captain spot. 13.7 played him just in general. So it's a decent strategy. I wouldn't go super heavy on it. And tonight it makes no sense just because Lamar Jackson's going to be the top overall scorer. I don't really see an avenue where he's not unless he gets hurt. And then at that point, who cares?
This to me, why is this the Monday night game week 1? Like, I get like the Raiders first game at home, but like this is does anybody find this a tantalizing like matchup? I really don't think so.
You're just so energized from the Bears on Sunday Night Football that you're now pissed about.
Yeah.
At least that was fun, right? Like Stafford, like just slinging against the Bears again.
Oh,
but
yeah,
this is like we have Lamar Jackson against a bunch of like tackling dummies.
Yeah,
and Carr against a depleted second stringers.
By the way, Matthew Stafford being as far down the board as he was for ADP and fantasy. Criminal. I had been saying,
stupid.
Yeah, he was going to have a massive. I mean, look at everything that he was able to do in Detroit, and like people were saying, like I literally up to 2 days ago was hearing people be like, "Well, the Rams just because they have Stafford and blah blah this," and it's like, no, the Rams have been this good for this long, while pouring like bleeding money to mega stars, working with Jared Goff, and now like I think Collinsworth said it best last night. He was like, Sean McVay now has a partner. He doesn't have he was 31, 32 years old when he started working with Jared Goff, like 31. Like he's got a partner now, not a student. And like, that's going to make a massive difference. And I mean, Stafford's going to be phenomenal out there. Like it's already showed itself.
And they didn't even have a running game either. Like if they had Akers, like that's still dumb, but whatever. But they have Darrell Henderson, who actually looked okay, but like still.
Well,
really?
He was breaking up like 8 or 9 yards before he was even getting touched at the end of the game. So
yeah,
but it's just like Stafford looks so good. I'm happy for him. He looks way better in a Rams jersey than a Lions jersey.
Everybody does.
True. Yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. He always has been. People are going to finally see it. To your point, there's been a lot of people this offseason being like, was Matthew Stafford the problem in Detroit? Which is insane. I understand because nobody's watched the Lions game unless you're in the NFC North, essentially. But Jesus, the guy is amazing.
Lions are the absolute worst franchise. Like, no. The most talented guy consecutively for over 10 years there. Like, the guy who throws game-winning touchdown passes with a broken clavicle for a team that doesn't do anything for him. Like, no, he's not the problem. He's not the problem at all. 2 takes that I was big on heading into this season were that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to be good and Matthew Stafford was going to tear it up. And after week 1, I'm feeling pretty good about both of those.
Yeah. Just quick side tangent. Just the odds for the Steelers to make the playoffs that you were telling me, like a month ago. It's insane. Like it's so stupid. People are so
170, dumb. I believe, to make the playoffs only. 8.5. Their win total was 8.5, and they've already taken care of the Bills, the second or third best team in the NFL at minimum, and are supposed to be at least. And they're already 1/9 of the way there with 16 left to play, and you're getting plus money for everything on them across the board. They were like plus 450 or plus 500 to win the AFC North. Just insane. This team won 11-0 last year. And now Big Ben is back and better than ever. I mean, call them frauds, call them whatever you want. They fell apart at the end. They got destroyed by an up-and-coming Cleveland team who is finally putting everything together. It doesn't mean anything. Like, this is a brand new year. Everybody's a bit older, young receiving core. Everybody got better. Now they have a running back who didn't really show out yesterday. No, but Pittsburgh's good. They're going to be good. So, anyway, I'm happy. I'll cash all my plus money bets. That's fine by me.
I would like to get ahead of something. Zach, you probably remember this. I think you might know what I'm talking about. I think it was a long time ago, like right after the season ended, we were talking about, or right when the schedule came out, we were talking about the schedule. And I said, the Packers-Steelers, the Packers are going to beat the Steelers by like 30 points. I'm going to flip that. The Steelers are going to beat the Packers by like 40. I knew the Packers' offensive line was going to be bad, but holy shit, this defense is going to run riots on them.
The Saints got pressure with a 3-man front. A 3-man front, and it's the Saints. Like, it was so bad. It was unbelievably bad.
After the first drive, I was like, oh no, the Steelers are going to beat the shit out of the Packers. That was a horrible, horrible decision. Although, in fairness, I thought we would have Devin Funchess, which is a cripple changer against a team. But
when do the Steelers play the Packers?
Like pretty soon.
Pretty quickly. I think it goes Lions, Niners, Steelers.
Yeah, and then Washington right after. I think
that's not great.
That offensive line is going to get
great. You're
destroyed.
Yeah, all without Bakhtiari.
Oh my god. Yeah, if they don't put everything together next week and then play like top-notch football, they're starting 1-4.
TJ Watt's going to score 70 points in fantasy as an individual player against the Packers.
He's going to score 2 touchdowns in real life, probably, because he's just going to take it from Rodgers' hands. Like, what's Rodgers going to do? Okay.
Yeah, boy.
Let's talk fantasy here. Okay, so Ryan Fitzpatrick down, hurt, sublux of his hip, basically dislocation. That just means it didn't pop all the way out. It doesn't sound like there's any structural damage. That's good. However, that just means they need to take time for all the tendons to go back in place, because if he gets hit and they're all stretched out, then his hip's fully going to come out. So he's out for like 2 months. Heineke steps in. I can't imagine they switched to Cam Newton like people are rumoring. Jake, you just wrote about this. Like, it's going to be Heineke's team. I mean, if they have massive balls and think they can win right now, they could trade for Deshaun Watson and try to run it. And that's what I would do. I guess, fuck it. Like, no one likes your team anyways. And switch back to the Redskins while you do it too.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Have a big sack. Like, go for it all. But
we're trading for Deshaun Watson and then have him come out and do his press conference and put the Redskins hat on.
Yeah.
Oh
yes.
Man, that would be gold. And since you brought it up, just want to plug my Taylor Heineke article really quick. I looked a little bit deeper into him. I think he deserves a legit starting. Like, not just like this guy can hold this over until Fitz comes back. Like, if he plays well, I think they should give him a legit chance at a season. Just really, really, really quick stats. His last 7 quarters of football, he has completed 37 out of 59 passes, for 428 yards, 3 total touchdowns, including 63 yards rushing. He played essentially the best against the Buccaneers last year in the playoffs, better than Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good, obviously, but he played better than Drew Brees. And he played better than like all these guys. He played better than Patrick Mahomes against them. Obviously, he had a much better offensive line, but I think he deserves a legit look. I dig deeper into Taylor Heineke. Head over to FlurrySports.org. Check it out.
What I'll say about this, like, don't rush to go pick up Heineke. Like, that's, if you're starting Ryan Fitzpatrick, then go ahead. I don't think he's worse than Fitzpatrick. My biggest takeaway from this specifically, this is a massive upgrade for Logan Thomas, because for whatever reason, Ryan Fitzpatrick refuses to throw to tight ends, and I respect it. Like, do what you got to do, but he just doesn't want to do it. As soon as Heineke comes in, then all of a sudden Logan Thomas starts getting targets. Logan Thomas is a stud. Logan Thomas played 100% of the snaps. This is going to be a top 4 tight end yet again, possibly top 3. I'll go that bold. Like, this is going to be a very, very, very good player at every week start. Like, I think he's matchup proof. Heineke can throw it to him. I'm a little nervous when defenses start to get film on Heineke to learn how he just runs around like his head's cut off back there. Like, once they get some patterns, he's going to start playing a little bit worse. But
I don't think he's the second coming of Tom Brady, but like, you look at his numbers
he's fine.
And the main thing is he's been in a tough spot, right? He's on the team all last year without even really sniffing the chance of playing. And then all of a sudden the playoffs come around and now he's the guy, and he throws for 306 yards against the Buccaneers, runs for another touchdown with 47 yards. Like, he shows up in this big spot. And then the football team goes, yeah, but you're still our backup. Take the whole offseason as backup, all the snaps preseason that he got, backups. Fitzpatrick comes in, boom, a quarter and a half into the regular season, he's back in the spotlight again, and he comes in, goes for 11 for 15, another touchdown, no turnovers. So it's just like, I don't know, give the dude a chance.
Yeah, I think he's going to be totally fine. But yeah, I would probably downgrade McLaurin a little bit. Logan Thomas gets a pump up. Antonio Gibson, nothing changes for him. He should be all good there. Curtis Samuel's still out at the wide receiver too. There really wasn't another wide receiver to step up and take that spot. De'Ami Brown's clearly the most talented, but we'll see there.
Taylor Heineke, by the way, led the team in rushing during that playoff game. That's another stat.
Yes, it is.
More than Antonio Gibson, more than J.D. McKissick. Led the team in rushing in the playoffs.
I mean, it says a little bit more about the rest of the team, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's go to there's a bunch of lineman
injuries. A couple
injuries.
questions in general that I want to that just reminded me. I want to get to for you guys, but
ask one. I think I'm going to bring Luke in here, so go ahead.
All right, pretty simple one here. I've got him in 2 leagues. Are you guys holding on to Jerry Jeudy? Are you cutting him loose? Will his return be slow after the ankle sprain?
My personal opinion is he's one of the most overhyped wide receivers in all of football. He has really good feet, okay routes. Offense isn't built for really good routes, like they're all schemed open. So when he comes back, he's probably going to be a solid wide receiver 3. If that's worth keeping for you, then go ahead. That's about where I'm at with him.
Well, he used to have solid feet, not so much after Sunday. It depends. Like, it depends what league you're in. Like, if you're in a deeper league, I think it's worth stashing them because I'm not really sold on I think receivers are deep, but I'm not sold on a lot of receivers I'm seeing available in a lot of leagues. Mm-hmm. And depending on where you are in waiver priority, I think it's tough. Plus, I don't think, there's really anybody to drop him for unless you can get like an Elijah Mitchell from San Francisco. But he's solid. I like him.
Here's my question for you, though. Like, obviously, Jerry Jeudy goes down for 2 months. We know who gets promoted. It's Tim Patrick. Would you rather have Tim Patrick or Jerry Jeudy on your fantasy team? Because for me, I would drop him for Tim Patrick.
Yeah, well, especially if you don't think he's coming back strong. It's like 2 months is the injury, but then what does he take 2-3 weeks to get back into like full, so all of a sudden you're talking like 3 months. Near the entirety of the fantasy season, he might not really be that effective. So I guess you got a pretty good point. He's one of those guys that I've had on my fantasy team the last like 2 years now, and like he's been a bench guy, but I've had like some sort of like affinity for him for some reason. He's always just on the bench. So I don't know, just throwing it out there because other people, like you said, Trevor, probably people in real deep leagues, like I got him in a 14-man league, so I'm a little more hesitant to drop him there. But if you like Patrick, maybe I'll consider that.
You don't have an IR spot though?
I do. I do have an IR spot. I can't remember if I'm in 7 leagues, so I can't remember who's where. I know a lot of them, but yeah, I guess that would solve the problem in that league.
Hey Luke, I have a question for you. What is the only thing Tim Patrick does?
The only thing that Tim Patrick does is catch touchdowns, and that trend.
There's your answer.
The trend will continue this year, especially with Jerry Jeudy getting out. It just gives Tim Patrick another chance to lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns this year.
100%.
Tim Patrick is the man of the people.
Zach, do you think Jamar Chase is the real deal? You like him?
I think he's okay. I don't think like everyone's praising him like the greatest thing now since he made that one long catch. I think he's good. I don't think he's Justin Jefferson, who I think a lot of people are going to compare him to because of what Jefferson did last year. But he's probably the best rookie. I'm trying to think. He's up there.
And we know how comparisons work. They went to the same college, so that's all you need to make a comparison. Exactly. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I mean, he's good. He's not horrible. That's what I mean by being good. The rapport is nice, but like Zach said, he's not a Justin Jefferson. I think just because this wide receiver class might not be strong, he might be viewed upon as that. Just because compared to others, he does look that good, but I
think within his own team, though, I mean, there's so many pass catchers on that Bengal squad, but it's like these guys have been, they've been through so much together, won a national championship together. They have the rapport. Now they go off in week one. It's like, is Burrow always going to be looking that way? Like, Boyd might suffer, Higgins might suffer, like, because Chase gets the benefit of the doubt, or like if there's going to be a jump ball or there's two options on a route, like it's going to Chase.
Yeah, I was looking up quickly because there was an injury there. I was wondering if Tyler Boyd got injured. Apparently he went to the locker room to get an IV, because that would have solved a lot of questions if he was going to miss time. But if all three are healthy, I think they're going to go off different weeks. I think I like Tyler Boyd the best out of all of them still, but they're all going to be fine. Another injury. We talked about Jerry Jeudy. Like I said, 4 to 6 weeks is what they're saying for that. Only an ankle sprain. It looked a lot worse. Raheem Mostert out for about 2 months with a knee injury, in the most predictable fashion possible. So Trey Sermon, rookie, was not active yesterday, I guess. Are you blocking the sun, or what's going on there?
Yeah, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. Okay.
I don't know if you can even hear us, I guess.
This is like okay, anyway. Whatever. Trey Sermon was not active. He's going to be active going forward. Elijah Mitchell was the one to jump in and get all of the work. He had over 100 yards. He's had a lot of comparisons to Mostert. Like, if I had to...
I know you guys
He's
are talking
so
Raheem
delayed.
Mostert. I have a point to bring up. Hello?
Oh no.
I think he's like 45 seconds behind.
Wait till he
insane.
gets caught up, Zach.
That's incredible. I don't even know how you get that delayed.
Man, wherever Luke is, the Packers are still in the game.
Yeah, no kidding.
Luke, just start saying your point, and then we'll stop talking when you start talking.
Yeah, okay. He just wrote to me, his connection might be a little off. True. Yeah, I'll just type to him. You're good. Once he starts talking, then we'll see. But if I had to value the two, I think I'd put Mitchell above Sermon still. But Sermon needs to be owned now, and you need to watch, because there's going to be people who drop Sermon because they found out that he wasn't even active for the game. So watch that. He's probably going to solidify himself as the running back one at some point ahead of Mitchell. Is it going to be this week? I don't think so. But both of those guys need to be owned, and it's probably going to be a confusing backfield. Do you guys have any other thoughts about that backfield, though, or how you think it's going to shake out?
Yeah, it didn't make much sense to me if what I was reading was correct, that Shanahan said he felt the best three backs were active, or like said something along those lines about like Trey Sermon not being active.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand that. Like, even if you don't think he's that great, you're playing the Lions, so you need bodies. Like, and that was a perfect game that we kind of talked about. And I know, Zach, you mentioned a lot about how this is probably going to be a blowout. So rude. Like, it's going to be a blowout. So like, you need bodies. So he's going to start laughing about 1 minute.
It's like one of those zoo live streams where you just like silently watch the animals. It's like Luke's just kind of sitting here. Like, he's just passively in the
It's
stream.
like a scene from a really bad horror movie or something.
We
Anyways,
need that from now on, just live action Luke camera with no sound. You just watch him all day.
But anyways, like, you need bodies, and guess what? Mostert got hurt, and they needed bodies, and they almost blew it, which wasn't really Mostert's fault. But like, I was still kind of shocked that he didn't get any run. I felt like that was a great game for him to get some run, but they didn't give any to him. Kind of puzzling to me, but also puzzling that they gave up 16 points in 45 seconds or something. So it adds up.
Yeah. Now the 49ers are getting overlooked because it was a close game. They didn't cover the spread, and now all of a sudden are the 49ers in trouble. And now they're only favored by 3.5 against the Eagles this week, because the Eagles blew out the Falcons. So the Eagles are here to play now too. So I love seeing all the week one overreactions. It's a good time.
I was so
It's
excited
legitimate.
when they were up like 20 whatever points. They were my best bet, multiple units. And then I went away and I did something. I came back and it was like a 13-point game. I'm like, oh no. And I ended up pushing, but
I was lucky enough to lock it in super early, so I think I
yeah,
had it
that's.
like 6.
I mean,
but
I was on my week 1 bets like. I mean, I placed most of them when we went to Cleveland, so it's been like weeks, and I was on -8.
Yeah, I had them in a survivor pool, and I was like, "Oh, I'm solid, $1,500. You know, I'll last another week." And I kept getting those score updates. I'm like, if these dudes lose me $1,600 over this garbage,
In week
I'm
1.
gonna rue them for the rest of my life.
yeah, I don't blame you. Any other injuries here? Michael Gallup placed on IR. He's, that's another one. Like, should you keep him? Should you not? Hopefully, you have an IR spot, so you don't really need to decide. But I think he's droppable. Saquon Barkley limited in practice today. I don't think that means anything. I think you're going to be seeing that a lot the entire season. I have Luke's Tua take here if you guys are interested in hearing from me. His Tua take is that he can't throw to the right side of the field. That's actually true. So every time that he plays him, or every team that plays him should have all 11 guys on defense on the left hash mark and closer to the left sideline.
It's the shift. It's the shift, but in the NFL. That's all it is.
How did that come up? Were we talking about Tua?
No, we're
No, he
not
just
talking
came
about
in
the
with a Tua
Dolphins.
take. That's
Oh,
all
okay.
he joined for. He wanted to give us Tua take.
He came in for Tim Patrick and Tua, and that's it, I guess. I don't know.
But he's not wrong. And Tua's left-handed, so I mean, he'd have to completely turn. So, yeah.
That's a
he's
lot
not
to
wrong.
ask for an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, he didn't have to do it in Alabama, to be fair. It did not matter. But, yeah. Any other thoughts here? Joe Mixon was a big surprise in week 1. Kind of because he stayed healthy.
I liked Joe Mixon coming into the season. I tried to grab him on as many teams as I could. Hopefully, you can keep it up. But
one of the guys that I kind of want to talk about that I think is interesting is Damian Harris. I know we've talked about him being the guy in New England. He spent all his time in the offseason in New England. And then there was a report coming out. I don't know how much stock I'm going to put into it that said like his fumble at the end of the game is going to cause him like the heavy duty like carries, and it's going to be more of a committee. If that's true, I wonder if Belichick has lost his mind. Like, it was a bad fumble, but he was one of the few reasons they were in the game. And, Ramondre Stevenson fumbled too. So, do we really think the Patriots are going to give carries to J.J. Taylor because of a single fumble? I'd really hope not and assume not. And if so, Belichick might need to go into a home. But I don't know about you guys. I'm not overreacting to that. I thought it was kind of stupid, and I'm just going to hold on to him. Maybe buy him if somebody will sell him for cheap, but just makes no sense to me.
can you imagine 2019 Bill Belichick Super Bowl champion, 2021 Bill Belichick in a home?
It's kind of looking that way.
Look, man, Father Time comes for everybody but Tom Brady, so he's next.
True.
I got a couple more to throw out there after you answer, Zach.
Damian Harris, I hyped him up in every fucking place that would listen to me essentially this offseason, so I am biased, but people love to think they know what Bill Belichick's thinking. They love to think that they figured out the Patriots way. Yes, he's pulled people in the past because they fumbled it or because of one thing or another, but the Bill Belichick doghouse isn't, as wide open as people would think, I would say. Damian Harris is the guy. He is the clear lead rusher. He played extremely well before that fumble, and he's going to continue doing so. Could that mean they give the ball or bring in James White slightly more often in crucial situations? Sure. But in terms of rushing, he's the guy, and he's going to continue to be. What do you got, Jake?
Well, one guy I just wanted to throw out there who I was down on a little bit because of a crowded receiver room, but also rookie quarterback and organization that's, you just can't trust, was Corey Davis. He had like 30 points this weekend, so good for him. Yeah. I guess he can be the legit number one guy. If you can put up 30 within your rookie QB's debut, you're probably going to have a few more 30 games in your future. Mike Williams, though, is he a legit guy like to have in your, like, does Justin Herbert make him a starter every week?
I don't want to be hyping up Mike Williams. It just feels wrong to do. But on one hand, who else is there other than Keenan Allen, obviously? Right. My thing is, if you want to talk about where could other targets go, Austin Eckler, was he targeted once? I'm not sure if he was. That is unbelievably wild. And obviously it was a key for the defense. That's fine. But yeah, like he's going to be more involved. Mike Williams, he's going to get hurt at some point. But I mean, when he's healthy, I think I would lock him in at a wide receiver 3 with upside. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's kind of where I have him, is like, to me, he seems like a guy who, unless you have a real loaded lineup on week to week, like you could stick him in your flex spot, or if, once buys start coming around, he's going to be a real solid guy to have like as your 4th receiver to fill in one of those slots, or your 3rd rather. I like you said, there's not that many options, and if they're not going to use Eckler in the passing game, because he started off hot, like he broke off a run like immediately, and it was like, oh, I guess his hamstring's okay, and then he scored the first touchdown of the entire season. But they just didn't target him. Maybe that was schemed, like you said, who knows? But they obviously going to pass the ball with Justin Herbert, so I like Mike Williams. Again, maybe lock him in as a flex spot. Maybe if you got a better option, there's something to debate there. But he's going to be a good guy to have once bye weeks start coming around.
Yeah, I'll buy him for the flex, but really nothing more. I mean, he had one less target than Keenan Allen, so that better not stay if that's what they want to do. I hope that's because they're double teaming Keenan Allen. I think his targets are going to go down, but we've talked about this before. Do you really trust Jalen Guyton? No. Hill Jr.? No. Like, there's nobody else that scares you. Jared Cook, obviously, he's a completely different pass catcher in itself. So, he's good because he's that second guy and they're going to pass a lot. But, the one thing that I'm kind of thinking of is they have positive game script. I feel like they'll have a little more of that. So maybe that'll take away from him a little bit. I don't know.
I think even if his targets do come down, though, like if he can boost his efficiency a little bit, because he was targeted 12 times, so he only caught the ball 66% of his targets. If he can boost that efficiency a little bit, even if the targets come down 1, 2, maybe even 3 a game, if he's still making 8 or 9 catches a night, not bad.
Well, he also played Washington too, so you would assume the efficiency would go up. So to your point, I mean, more valuable targets should be going his way. I'm not sure if you guys can see the comments, but Luke is setting himself up for jokes and throwing it down here a little bit. First one is Belichick looks like he would be a great kitchen cook at a retirement home. And then when he said that, I pictured Belichick shirtless in an apron. So thank you for that. And then he's dissing Julio Jones a lot right now. Julio Jones equals eat 8 beanbags on a board. Washed. The machine you use to clean your clothes equals Julio Jones. Washed. That game where you toss little metal pieces onto a board with a cup equals Julio Jones.
I don't know if it's a board with the cup. It's kind of like board around the cup, but
I know what game he's talking about.
I don't.
Yeah, my buddies had one that had real old shag carpeting on it around all the holes.
I think we need to question what Luke does in his, free time, because this is clearly planned. These were all sent within 3 minutes, so clearly something on his mind.
Clearly, he's right though. Julio looked bad. He looked extremely slow. He could barely run, and then Vrabel came out today, going at him because of that personal foul. He's going to have a good game next week probably, but he looked bad this week.
A reminder, Zach, that Jake and I currently have a wager with no prize to the person who wins. That you and Jake have to decide on your podcast, your weekly podcast. If you don't remember, I said Julio wouldn't be top 30 wide receiver. He said he would. And please, Julio, if you're listening, keep doing that. I'd much appreciate you to keep doing that, especially since a lot of people took you, I think, a lot earlier than a lot of people should have.
A lot of football left.
Sure.
The Titans all sucked. Derrick Henry had like 7 yards in the fourth quarter, and Ryan Tannehill just loves getting sacked now, I guess. They all looked bad.
I thought Arizona would win. I did not think that they would absolutely emasculate those guys.
And Zach hates it even more because he hates Kyler Murray and he hates the.
I don't hate
Cardinals. You have so much hate in your heart, Zach.
I do, but I hate Kingsbury. I don't hate Kyler Murray. I just don't think he's very good at football, and I continue to believe that.
You're going to be like the people that finally in 2019 admitted Tom Brady is a good quarterback. Yeah, I guess he's 7 Super Bowls. He's all right.
He's a good quarterback, but he's never been top 10 at any point in the NFL. That's my argument. Skill set.
I don't think he's he's definitely not top 10 pure quarterback, but as far as a dude who can get things done on the football field, he seems seems pretty good at that.
Sure, he can get stuff done. All kinds of stuff. Kisses his son all the time.
So can Cordarrell Patterson. So,
hey, Cordarrell Patterson looked all right. He's probably one of the very, very, very few bright spots on the Falcons. I take a little. I don't know the word. I'm pissed that he was targeted more than Russell Gage instead of Russell Gage. In fact, they started him over Russell Gage, but I don't know. The Falcons are an absolute disaster. They were a team that were built to get 8-9 wins just because of how many injuries they had. If they keep throwing this lineup out there, they may have the number 1 overall pick next year, especially if the Texans keep doing what they did.
Although the Jacksonville might have a run to that too, because Texans aren't bad, but they got smacked by the Texans. That should not have happened.
Yeah.
Jaguars will get better after Urban Meyer leaves to go take the USC job that just opened up. He's going to be running there pretty quickly. Jake, do you have anything else you want to ask before you have to hop off here?
Nope. Just check out. We're going to be obviously every single day, every week of the football season. We're going to be uploading tons of content, but check out that Taylor Heineke article. Let me know what you think at Senholes on Sport. I'm interested. I think he has a chance to be a legit guy. I want to know what everybody else thinks. So that's all for me. I got to go to a work meeting. Blech.
Have fun with that. Trevor, do you have anything else you want to dive into?
I do. Again, listen to Zach. Kenneth Gainwell was one of the lone bright spots for the Eagles. Obviously, he didn't get much work, but 9 carries, 37 yards, touchdown, two receptions for 6 yards. Obviously, it's not a lot fantasy-wise. It's not going to pop out at you, but that kind of production, he's going to get more touches very soon. They have already used him a lot. They're using Miles Sanders more, obviously, but Kenneth Gainwell, he's going to be pushing Miles Sanders, and we know the Eagles, they're going to want to push Sanders out the door for whatever reason.
Before I go to that point, I just got a notification from Michael Lombardi, who's an NFL reporter. And like I just said, he is reporting on Urban Meyer. He's talked to people in Columbus that he trusts that says Urban Meyer might love to go back to college. They just said that the timing with the USC opening is very interesting, he said. And of course it is. That's not surprising.
And Luke has also been in the chat. I'll take this one, saying that some people are saying that Julio Jones is the worst Titans receiver ever. Not me, but some people. I haven't seen other people, but there was a guy. What was the guy? Dorial Green Beckham? Was that his name?
Yeah.
For them, he was trash. Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that. I probably should have put that together, but
Yeah, the worst cousin, some may say, at football. Luke, continue to be our man in the streets. Keep getting that hard-hitting analysis. Find more stories for us. See who else thinks that Julio Jones is bad at football. But yeah, Kenneth Gainwell is good, dude. Like Kenneth Gainwell, they were talking about had the best hands in the entire draft. I would assume he continues to get used more and more as a receiver. The whole thing with the Eagles running backs, man. Like Miles Sanders looked so good running the football. That offensive line was very good. Obviously, we talked about how that Falcons front seven might be the worst in football. Eagles offensive line's good. So we liked Miles Sanders, and he did everything we thought he would do, except for he just didn't get the carries early. Like he ran really well, got good yardage and stuff. I just can't imagine, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine that they continue to let Jalen Hurts throw this much. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, he looked good, but again, it's the Falcons. I was here thinking it was going to be a shootout. Was not because the Falcons decided just to not play football. Miles Sanders is kind of an enigma for me. He kind of reminds, you're not going to know where I'm going with this, but this is soccer. I can't believe I'm bringing in soccer into this. But there was a player for a team. He never played. He was really good. They're wondering why. Turns out he slept with the coach's daughter. It's got to be something like that with Miles Sanders because he's been good and he's shown so many flashes. And every year they're like, yeah, let's bring in another guy to like go at him. It doesn't make sense.
No. We got a question here on YouTube. Miles Sanders and Brandon Cooks for Chris Carson and Robbie Anderson PPR.
That's
which
tough.
side would you want? I think I would prefer to have Chris Carson, Robbie Anderson. Chris Carson should still be that RB1 there. Not a RB1, but the Seahawks RB1. I think he's really good. I think the Colts were a tough matchup that they just destroyed. So I think matchups are going to get easier for him. And then Robbie Anderson, I mean, the entire year last year, he kept being undervalued. I don't think the Sam Darnold connection means anything, but I do think the I just forgot their coach's name.
The guy from Baylor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name either.
The Matt Rule connection.
Yeah.
Because he coached him at Temple, obviously got him out of trouble, recruited him there. He loves Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson's going to be a top 25 guy consistently, I think. So I would rather have him over the other two, who is the injury-prone, workload questionable Miles Sanders, and then Brandon Cooks, who's great, but he's going to get concussed at some point. And these concussions keep racking up for him.
Yeah. Carson, the only question about him is whether he can stay healthy. I wrote an article about him versus Joe Mixon. When he's healthy, he's been, I think, like a top 10 back. Like the 2 years he's played 14 or more games. When he's not. But also, again, when Miles Sanders doesn't have the workload and questionable, and when Brandon Cooks is one concussion away from Rob Gronkowski level, that's scary. And Robbie Anderson, like, he's not the best receiver, but I have a hard time thinking of anybody else except Tyreek Hill who has like that big play potential. Like obviously, he's not Tyreek Hill. I'm not saying that, but like his stat line, 1 catch, 57 yards and a touchdown. That is plenty good enough. And he'll definitely have some games where he gets you more volume too. So just in that big play potential alone, I think you got to go Anderson and Carson.
And this is a thought process that not enough people utilize, I think. Like people understand the concept of handcuff running backs, where if one running back goes down, the other one vaults up. The added, thing with that is like a Kareem Hunt who has value, but then spikes to amazing if there's a Nick Chubb injury. Looking at these four players, like Robbie Anderson, if Christian McCaffrey goes down, if DJ Moore goes down, if Terrace Marshall goes down, it directly impacts him and he's going to spike up. And with stuff like that, like I see his, potential only going up. There's no scenario where he gets ruled out of the offense. There's no scenario where stuff other than injury where he goes down. Miles Sanders, there's no scenario where he gets a bigger workload. There's no injury that could happen. Same thing with Brandon Cooks. He is the guy. There's no scenario. Chris Carson, same thing. But Robbie Anderson is the only player out of those four who could spike if something else happens to another player. And that really puts it over the top for me.
He's a good player. It's just a shame his hair looks like trash.
It does look dumb. He does have dumb hair. Do you have any other players you want to talk about?
I just like to bring this up live on air too. Well, no, I'll save that for Wednesday. But I was intrigued though with Myles Gaskin. Like we talked about this, he's clearly the best running back in that room. He should clearly get the work. The only question was whether he would get it or not. And where are his stats? What I want to pull up. I mean, he looked good. He was the lead guy. It won't scroll down. It's not loading. Great. Awesome. But he looked good. He was used in the passing game as well. Here we go. 9 carries, 49 yards, 5 for 5 on targets and receptions for 27 yards. Obviously, it's not great. You'd like more, but that's also, we talked about it's a tough game against New England. They wanted to take him away. And the fact that he's able to do both very well, he's like a poor man's Austin Eckler, like a very poor man's Austin Eckler. But, you know, when you're in PPR, that is so much value alone, especially where he was being drafted, that, you know, that's a welcome sign for sure.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. This is how the snaps broke down for Dolphins running backs because that was a big question mark for him. They played 54 snaps. He got 29 of them, so the majority, but not overwhelming. Malcolm Brown got 16. Salvin Ahmed got 11. And then Myles Gaskin had 17 passing snaps. The next closest was Ahmed with 8. So if it's going to be a passing down, if you think the Dolphins are down, he's definitely going to be the guy. He obviously led the backfield in carries, 9, 5 for Brown, 3 for Ahmed. That's concerning. I think Gaskin's clearly the best runner. I think he's clearly the best talent. And he has clearly the most defined role. You know, if they get in close, it's probably going to be Malcolm Brown vulturing touchdowns again, like he did with the Rams. So, like, for that reason, I think his upside's capped. I think he's probably like a flex guy more often than not. I'd probably rule him a flex more than an RB2, but I like him. It's just a shame that he's in one of the more mediocre committees I see.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting too, because, I mean, we've already seen the injury bug come in, but it really seems like it's only hit like a couple teams. Granted, it doesn't matter, right? Running backs are still going down, but like we are just one or two big running backs going down from like full-on catastrophe like last year. When you're already scrambling at the 4th in Baltimore, Elijah Mitchell and, you know, San Francisco, you know, and Mark Ingram looks tantalizing on the waiver wire. Like that's not
going
good.
on with them, by the way?
They have 4 running backs, so like, you know, we'll rotate. But like it's good to have those guys on the bench. At the very least, he will be a decent like trade piece he can throw in that people will salivate over.
Mark Ingram. Okay, let's look at this really quick because that was another like one of those mediocre committees we talked about. I was right about Mark Ingram going to get like a short yardage touchdown. That's why I ranked him. A lot of people didn't. But I didn't think he was going to get 26 carries. That makes no sense. But also, by the way, I'm just looking at this for the first time now. They played 77 snaps. He only had 36 snaps. So he carried the ball 26 times on his 36 snaps, and then he was basically running routes the rest of the time. I don't know how many catches he got.
He had 1 target, no catches.
So essentially 27 out of his 36 plays were intended to go to him, which is wild for Mark Ingram of all people. The rest of the backfield broke down like this, and it's disgusting. So 36 for him, 22 plays for David Johnson, 20 plays for Phillip Lindsay, 10 plays for Rex Burkhead. So, boy.
And the best part was he only averaged 3.27 yards per carry. Like, it wasn't like he was exactly doing anything. They're just like, let's hit him hard and run out the clock and not look at the stats.
And I think he's worth adding. However, this is the issue. If the Texans are trailing, which I can only assume is almost all of the rest of the season, you would think they'd rather go with a passing down guy like Phillip Lindsay or David Johnson or Rex Burkhead, essentially everybody but Mark Ingram. But again, he's probably going to come in and vulture a touchdown. since they know now, like, we can get those 3 yards like clockwork. He can't get 4, but we can get 3. If it's a goal line, he's going to fall forward. But yeah, I don't know. Touchdown only league, he's good. Best ball, it's too late for that, but he's fine. Depending on his price is for DFS, he's a cheap touchdown option.
Yeah, and the other bad thing too, obviously, like, it's really early to be looking playoffs, but like, if we do, I'm looking on Sleeper. He only has 2 good matchups from week 8 to week 18, which is horrible. And those are against teams that are very good too. So not only do they have a good defense, but they're not going to be winning. So like you said, they're going to be playing from behind. So I think he could be kind of like that Sammy Watkins that everybody picks up and does nothing again, especially when he's running 3.2 yards per carry and he's 5'9". I mean, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. He's my height, Zach. He is my height. He's a little bigger, just a little bit, but point still stands. He's my size.
He also, this is insane. Okay, so he had 26 carries, the 3 whatever yards per carry. He ran against an 8-man box over 42% of the time. So
why did they stack the box against Mark Ingram?
They're like,
Urban Meyer got flashbacks. He thought he was playing against the wrong Alabama running back. He thought it was Derrick Henry out there. Maybe they switched bodies. That's the only thing I can think of, because Derrick Henry looked like garbage.
They were daring the Texans to pass, and they're like, nah, we're good. We got Mark Ingram. We'll just keep rolling him out there. That's insane. And that tells you how bad that front 7 is for Jacksonville then, too. So like when Jonathan Taylor plays them, it's going to be bad.
It also tells you how bad Bill O'Brien was, that these are the decisions being made in Houston. And it's like, oh, good change. Mark Ingram, the ball 26 times.
It's insane. I do want to bring up one stat since I was talking about 8-man in the box. People obviously were frustrated by Ezekiel Elliott's performance. He didn't get the touches. Mike McCarthy people feel like they abandon it. The run, but that's what a lot of teams are going to be doing against Tampa this year. They continue to shut down the running game. He also ran against an 8-man box over 45% of the time, which means 2 things. One, Dak Prescott did play good, but he also was dared to pass. It was single coverage the entire time. They were giving him open looks and basically daring him to hit the open looks, which he did the majority of the time. They just would rather bring pressure on him, which, again, he looked poised and looked pretty good. But I think people are overreacting to Dak's performance. And then on the flip side, overreacting to Zeke's poor performance, considering the 8-man box, the amount of carries he got. And now this is kind of a perfect storm. Zach Martin might be back next week, but Lyle Collins, I think, is suspended 5 games, the right tackle. So if you can get a trade for Elliott maybe before Zach Martin gets back to practice, so the owner thinks the whole right side of the offensive line's gone, Ezekiel Elliott is bad. It's just like last year. If you can lowball offer and get Zeke, I think that's probably a really, really good option right now.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised he didn't get a lot of carries. I don't think people should have been, because you can't run anywhere on the Buccaneers. Like, you can't. Like, if you saw Vita Vea, you can't run on that. He is a one-man bowling ball. But, I mean, you're right. I mean, I was surprised they didn't throw to him a little bit more. And they did a lot of jet sweep action with Pollard, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. But, either way, his schedule is going to get better. Even in the division when he's playing tough defenses, those teams aren't going to be able to stack the box like Tampa Bay does. That's not going to happen. He's got a good looking schedule from weeks, 8 to 12. He's a first round pick for a reason. I don't understand why people aren't abandoning him so much. It's problematic, but I mean, did anybody really think he'd drop 20 plus points on the Buccaneers? You shouldn't.
Right. Level of concern 0 to 10 for you. Derrick Henry obviously looked bad. Tennessee Titans offensive line looked bad. He ran against an 8+ man box just over 23% of the time. So not very often. That means man on man, they just got overpowered and there's nowhere to run. Are you concerned about that?
I would put it at like a 6, because he actually got some targets, which is weird. He got 4 targets, 3 receptions. Obviously, a decent amount of that was probably because they were behind by so much. They had to use him somehow. But, their schedule is not bad. And even if it is, he's a bowling ball. He's not a great running back. But, this again just seems kind of like a worst case scenario. I mean, Arizona's a lot of defensive freaks. Obviously, they play Seattle next week. I think the best time to buy him would be after week 2. I think he'll struggle again. But, I don't think we should be worrying until week 5. If he's still doing the same thing against Jacksonville, we have a serious problem.
Yeah, for sure. That game, I need to go back and watch it. I watched it a little bit when it was live, but it just didn't make sense to me. It did not compute. I understand the Cardinals defense has some very good players now. Obviously, Chandler Jones is a freak. J.J. Watt on the opposite side is a problem. Zaven Collins, we talked about him a lot during the draft process. He, I think, could end up being the steal of the draft. I think he's unbelievable. And then obviously Buda Baker's a stud. With that being said, I didn't think that this run defense is going to be that great. I don't really get it. I don't know if it's going to continue, but if it does, I'll eat my words. It's totally fine. That Titans offensive line, though, they need to be better. They need to be better. I don't think they're a top 5 offensive line, but run blocking, they should be a lot better. Their biggest issue is they got nothing from the passing game as well. So, but still, they didn't load the box against them. So it's not like they were looking to stop the run.
Yeah, and Ryan Tannehill's he's a serviceable quarterback, and again, the offensive line didn't do their job, but he kind of showed just how one-dimensional this team is. Like, a lot of Tannehill's success comes from Henry. Yeah. And so if Henry's doing that, like we saw Tannehill in Miami, that wasn't just because of Miami. That wasn't a fluke. It's because he can't carry an offense. So, if you have Tannehill, I start to be worried about that too, because that depends solely on Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and to your point, like, he's probably going to get better. We know what happens to strong running games once it gets cold. People don't want to hit Derrick Henry when it's below freezing. Obviously, that's not going to happen too often where they play, but colder, it's still going to make a difference. I would love to trade for him. Like you said, after week 2, I don't know who they play in week 3, but maybe after then. This offense is probably, Seattle. I didn't look ahead. That's going to be a shootout. For sure. Because the Titans, you're muted.
They play Seattle week 2, then they play Indianapolis, at the Jets, at Jacksonville, Buffalo, KC, at Indy. And those are their good quote-unquote matchups.
Yeah, it's not the easiest matchup. I would be a little bit concerned if he keeps getting hit in the backfield, like him just holding up, just injury-wise. We've seen him stay relatively healthy the past couple of years, which I think is not going to continue to happen. If you took our draft kit or whatever, you saw the overused running backs. He was clearly the top one. He's been getting in so many carries the past 3 years. He's going to break down. If he starts getting hit in the backfield on top of it, he's going to break down a lot sooner. So I'm concerned. I'm not panicking. If I'm a Derrick Henry owner, I'm for sure not trading him. If I see a panicked Derrick Henry owner, I'm willing to trade for him, but I'm not willing to trade face value. If that makes sense.
I mean, he does have a nice bye week, to be fair, week 13. So that is a perfect rest time before if he stays healthy, which is a big if. But then again, playoff time, week 15, Pittsburgh, week 16, San Francisco, week 17 and 18, Miami and Houston. But still, playoffs usually don't go till week 17 and 18. So, again, super early in the season. But like you said, trading face value for him, especially after that, that's a stretch.
Yeah, that Steelers matchup's scary. That Steelers defense is just as good, if not better, than last year. let's end on this one. Zack Moss, I still don't know why he wasn't active. Singletary looked good, but Zack Moss was looking better. All of training camp wasn't active. I don't think we know anything about that situation yet. If you are a Zack Moss owner, first of all, are you actively trying to drop him or trying to hold? And then two, let's say you drafted him to be your RB4, let's say Elijah Mitchell's out there. You would drop him for Elijah Mitchell, right? Muted.
Yeah, I was looking down. My bad.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah, I would drop him for Elijah Mitchell easily. This backfield again is weird, kind of like the Eagles, because Devin Singletary looked like the guy, and then they bring in Zack Moss, and now we don't really know what they have, and now he's a healthy scratch. I mean, that made no sense. I would be worried. I mean, he's only 23, but again, what also scares me is he's 5'9". I mean, he's low to the ground. I've always been partial to Singletary, and after that, I mean, man, they're either very worried about his ankle injury he had this offseason, or they don't think he's that good, both of which I'm staying away from.
For real. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
James Robinson, I know he was good. I know Etienne was out. For the love of God, guys, if you took him in the second and third round, you need to be watching us more before next year. A couple guys in my league took him in the second. I understand he's big, but script and I don't want to say momentum, but like a narrative is a big thing. I understand that, but there comes a time when we got to put narrative away and understand what we really have, because he was great last year, but guess what? This is completely different, completely new coach. He got 7.4 points against Houston, and they should have won that game with positive game script, so that's not good.
Right. Obviously outtouched by Carlos Hyde. To your point, the biggest factor here is the coaching change. They have no ties to James Robinson. They didn't, I guess the last regime didn't draft him either, but they picked him up. Etienne was clearly going to be the dude now that we see this. Carlos Hyde, I don't know if the years match up, but he's an Ohio State guy, so Urban might have recruited him there or coached him there. Has ties with him, favors him. So as long as Urban Meyer's still in the NFL, I'm lower on James Robinson. This sucks. I wouldn't drop him yet. I want to see more of what he's capable of doing, more of what that workload is, especially after a loss. They clearly have to change something. So hopefully the change is getting the more talented guy the ball. But yeah, you cannot start him next week. There's no scenario.
I just love... I don't understand why teams keep hiring or even looking at Urban Meyer. Like, first of all, he clearly is not a good guy. Obviously, some people don't care about that. He clearly does not care at all. He just wants to go to college where he can dominate and doesn't have to do anything. He's like, not nepotism, but he's the son of a rich dad who has a fortune and just wants to like kick back and play video games professionally. Like, that's who he is as a coach. So I don't know why he's there. I said he wasn't going to be there the whole season. After that, he certainly won't be, because, man, if it's reports after 1 week, good Lord.
It's insane. Like,
he got his guy, too. He got Trevor Lawrence.
Dabo's going to take over for sure. It's booked. This is scripted. Everything is coming to fruition. Like, if you listen to the FlurrySports podcast, there's no doubt in my mind this is booked. This was talked about. This is scripted. And with Khan being the owner of the Jaguars, who knows? Urban Meyer might show up on AEW and get kicked out of Jacksonville, and I might be tied into the storyline over there. Like, this is insane. But yeah, he's gone.
The only thing we need is Pete Carroll to go to either Texas or Ohio State and either recreate the Rose Bowl or play in the national championship. That's all we need.
Insane. With that, let's get out of here. Monday Night Football coming. If you have any fantasy questions, shoot your question to Trevorland2 or Fantasy Flurry. That is myself. Check out FlurrySports.org for a bunch of fantasy stuff coming out. And we will be back Wednesday. We are going to be going over the week 2 rankings, comparing what we have to the rest of the expert, quote unquote, expert industry, see who we're higher or lower on. We will continue to put you down the right path there. So we'll see you then. Later.